Kim, we are live on YouTube. You can go ahead when you're ready.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Hello, everybody. My name is Kim Brisky. I am here with Summer Corps. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar about the SBIF program. As a reminder for everybody participating today, you will receive an email after this presentation with a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, as well as a link to be able to review the video. During this presentation, please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A box below. And now I'm going to turn it over to Fareed Mohammed with DPD to give a few words about the SBIF program. Fareed?
Thank you so much, Kim. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to participate in our SBIF webinar today. My name is Fareed Mohammed, and on behalf of DPD and the Small Business Advocacy Division, headed by Deputy Commissioner Mary O'Connor, we are excited about the official rollout of 4 SBIF districts, those being 47th in State, 119th in Halsted, Bronzeville, and Touhy and Western. Before I pass the torch to Sylvia from Summer Corps, I would like to take the time to say thank you to our delegate partners who work hard in promoting and marketing the SBIF program. We appreciate you and we value your hard work. Without further delay, Sylvia from Summer Corps. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Fareed. Again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Sylvia Orozco, and I'm the Program Director for the Small Business Improvement Fund Program. And I'm proud to say that I've worked with Summer Corps on the SBIF program for the past 15 years in assisting hundreds of existing businesses, landlords, and startups. Summer Corps is a not-for-profit organization. We are a small business lender that offers SBA 504 loans. We administer the city's Small Business Improvement Fund program, as well as the city's Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. And our purpose is to guide your vision to reality through impactful financial solutions. And that's because business growth, job creation, and community impact are our priorities. So now in its 20th year, SBIF is one of the longest running and most successful City of Chicago programs. We've helped retain and expand small businesses in nearly every neighborhood and dispersing over $100 million in grants. So please be advised that this is a non-residential program, so residential units cannot be covered with this grant. The grant cannot be used for capital. It cannot be used for operating expenses. It is specifically just for infrastructure repairs. So now we can go ahead and get started with the presentation. So today our presentation will focus on what is TIF, what is SBIF, who is eligible, what are the eligible expenses, what the application process is like, what are the requirements and restrictions, and what's the payment process like. So what is TIF? TIF is a tax increment financing, is a special funding tool that's used by the City of Chicago to promote public and private investment across the city. The funds are used to build and repair roads and infrastructure, clean polluted land, and put vacant properties back to productive use. It's usually in conjunction with private development projects such as the SBIF program. The funds are generated by growth in the equalized assessed valuation of the properties within a designated district over a period of 23 years. So what does it do? Funding levels for specific projects are coordinated within the area plans and goals. When an area is declared a TIF district, the amount of property tax that the area generates is set as a base to equalize assessed valuation amount. So as the property values increase, all property tax growth above that amount can be used to fund redevelopment projects within the district. So again, it's a long-term investment for over 23 years. The funds provide improvements, projects, and development for business retention and attraction, public works projects, SBIF program, and TIF works. So today we are opening these 4 TIF districts. Here we have the 119th in Halsted TIF, 47th in State, 119th in Halsted, Touhy Western, and Bronzeville. So if you're not sure whether or not your property falls within a TIF district, you can visit our website. It will take you to a link with the City of Chicago's Department of Zoning's mapping system. You can enter your address that you're looking to see whether or not it falls within a TIF district. We do ask that you click on the pin itself to determine whether or not it falls within that area. That will give you the specific information that pertains to that property. And once you click on that property, it will give you the information that states whether or not the property falls within a district or not. So it may have tax increment financing followed by the name of the TIF district. So if you do not see tax increment financing, that means it is not within a TIF district. So just a little bit more information about SBIF's organization. It is a City of Chicago program, and all SBIF eligible districts and funding must be authorized by City Council. DPD oversees the program of which Summer Corps administers, and Summer Corps works directly with local agencies and applicants in processing the applications. And these here are just a few of the local agencies that are available in your area to provide assistance throughout the project, throughout the start and end. You know, they're available to ask questions about the program itself. If you need help filling out some of the forms, if you need help, you know, with emailing them over, they will be available to assist you. And so the SBIF overview, again, this is a grant for permanent building improvements for small businesses within certain TIF districts throughout the City of Chicago. The rebates, you can receive up to 25, 50, or 75% of SBIF eligible cost. The maximum for a single commercial space or applicants for a commercial business or landlord is $100,000 max. $150,000 is the max per industrial applicant, and $50,000 is the max grant amount for an applicant that is operating out of a multi-tenant property, with the limit of $250,000 per each property. So here the following consists of the eligible applicants and the items we take into consideration to determine eligibility. So if you're a property owner, we will take a look at your personal net worth, cumulative between all owners, as well as your liquid assets. We take into account cumulative between all owners as well. If you are a commercial lessee, we take into account the annual sales requirements that will be listed on your gross receipts from your tax returns that would be part of the application request. Industrial lessees, we ask that you have a maximum of 100 full-time equivalent employees in order to qualify for the program, and this will include all employees of multiple locations. If you are the business and property owner, both the property owner and commercial lessee requirements apply. For vacant properties, you can apply for the program even if the property is currently vacant at the moment. It will need to be leased out 60% at least for the upper levels, and 100% of the ground floor must be leased by a SBIF qualified tenant. Here we have the sliding scale eligibility for a landlord. Now this is if you own the property and there's no ownership interest in the business that's leasing the commercial space. So all individuals with 7.5% ownership or more are evaluated. So their net worth, if you have a net worth that is less than $2.5 million, you qualify for 75% reimbursement. If the net worth falls between 2.5 million and 4.5 million, you'd qualify for 50% reimbursement. And if the net worth falls between 4.5 and 6 million, you would qualify for 25% reimbursement. So if the net worth is greater than or equal to 6 million, you would be considered ineligible. This would not be considered a small business. So additional eligibility considerations, again, cumulative between all owners. The max liquidity is $500,000. And the leased up requirements, again, we can accept an application for a vacant property, but before we can disperse funds, the space needs to be leased by a SBIF qualified tenant. Applicable to industrial properties that lease any part of a third party tenant. So if you operate your business out of that space, but you also lease it to a third party tenant, we would take into account the landlord scale as well. Sliding scale eligibility for a tenant. You are a tenant and you're leasing space from someone. You have to lease for at least a minimum of a 3-year term from a building owner that has no financial relationship. There's no overlap with property ownership. So we would take into account these sales requirements. If your sales are less than $3 million, you would qualify for 75% reimbursement. Sales between 3 to 4 million would mean a 50% reimbursement, and sales between 4 and 5 million would mean a 25% reimbursement. So if your sales are greater than or equal to 5 million, you'd be considered ineligible. So if you are a startup business, startups are eligible as well. If it's a new business, then we would request a projected income statement, and that will be used to apply the sales schedule. So we'd also ask you for a business plan as well. For industrial applicants, again, we ask that you have a maximum of 100 full-time equivalent employees, and all industrial businesses automatically qualify for a 50% rebate. So if you are an industrial landlord, if the applicant owns an industrial property and also leases any portion of the industrial property to a third-party tenant, this is basically considered an income generator. The landlord sliding scale will be used in this situation as well. So the percentage may vary, either 25 or 50%. If it's an industrial business, you would not be eligible for a 75% reimbursement. So here we have a few of the reimbursable expenses, which include roofing, storefronts and facade improvements, masonry repairs, tuck pointing, building systems, including HVAC, electrical and plumbing, interior renovations with rough and finished carpentry, full gut rehabs of the interior, ADA compliance improvements. For example, if you need to widen the door openings to make them ADA compliant, if you need to renovate a restroom for ADA compliance, or even install a ramp, those items can be covered as well. So we also cover environmental remediation, permanent signage. We would cover the structural aspects only. Anything that is business specific will be excluded. So for example, if you're looking to install a box lit sign, we can cover the box itself, but the plastic panel that will have the business specific information, that cost would be excluded. Land purchase, if you happen to own a building, you operate your business out of it, you're looking to purchase the land or real estate that's directly adjacent to your existing business, we can cover the cost for that if you're looking to use that as business expansion or for parking. But you must own and operate the business out of the directly adjacent space. So if there's an alley in between it, if there's a building in between it, a street or so forth, it will not be applicable. So some of the ineligible expenses and organization types include national chains, food and bank branches, currency exchanges, payday loan stores, places of worship, liquor stores, bars, startup banquet halls, astrology and palm readers, hotels and motels, home-based businesses, trailer storage and junkyards, and similar uses. These are the types of businesses that do not qualify for the SBIF program. Non-reimbursable expenses, we do not cover any new construction, including additions or expansions. If there's any serious or chronic building code violations that have been filed through a circuit court, they would not be eligible to participate in the program until those are addressed and they have been released and recorded with the Cook County's Recorders of Deeds. Small cosmetic upgrades, minor repairs, such as standalone projects. If you just simply want a fresh new coat of paint, new carpet, small interior remodels, that would not be applicable in this case. Equipment-related expenses, such as personal property and permanent elements, including computers, phones, kitchen appliances, cash registers, furniture, etc., will not be considered eligible. So if you have a restaurant or a catering service, we can cover the exhaust hoods and also walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, and fire suppression systems, but we wouldn't be able to cover anything such as the stoves, the stoves, the burners, those types of things, but compartment sinks, those types of things, grease traps would be covered for restaurants. Parking lot improvements and landscaping is not eligible. Again, as I discussed, business-specific signage is not eligible. We can only cover the structural aspects of the sign, perimeter security fencing, and work on residential unit interiors is not eligible for reimbursement through this program. So here we have a sample project structure. So let's say your project costs are $50,000. You're spending $30,000 on masonry improvements and $20,000 on roofing improvements. So what we can do in situations like this is we can break it out in phases. So if you have a $50,000 price tag, you qualify for 75% reimbursement. We can then reimburse you $37,500 from your eligible expenses. So we can break it out in various phases, meaning if you need to do the roofing project first, you would pay the contractor $30,000. The contractor does the work. You then give us proof of payments. We come out to take pictures before and after the work is done. We will then reimburse you $22,500. So you can then use that reimbursement to move forward with the roofing project that will cost you $20,000. So we can break it up in up to 3 phases, and we can also write a bank assignment so that the proceeds of the grant go directly to the bank to leverage construction financing. So please keep that in mind. If you do not have the funding available at the moment, you can always sign a bank assignment, use it as leverage for obtaining funds for completing your construction. So here we have some projects that were done in the area. So this one is 47th and State TIF District. This is Precious Little Ones Learning Center, a daycare center. So she did a few different projects here. The exterior work here that was done includes masonry work. She also did a roofing project, some plumbing work, and also replacement of the flooring throughout the daycare center. Here we have all-weather specialists located in the 119th and Halsted TIF District. So this was a full gut interior rehab program. They covered all of the building systems, including the plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and they actually did an interior layout change of everything. So they actually created various offices, kitchenette, restroom, and so forth. So this was a pretty extensive project. So here in the Brownsville TIF District, Emma Shea's Cupcakes at 3453 South Prairie Street. And if you can see the before picture, it was just basically an empty shell. So she built everything out for full functionality of a cafe. Here in Toohey Western TIF District, we have Cats LLC. This used to be an old laundromat, so they converted into office space for a law firm. So they converted it into various office spaces for office, conference rooms, and storage. So we do have a SBIF exterior work requirement. So for commercial grantees that are looking to receive $25,000 in SBIF funding, at least 10% of the grant funding must be put towards the exterior improvements. So this can include masonry repairs, storefront improvements, awnings, signage, whatever improvements would be applicable to the exterior to beautify the space that can qualify towards your exterior work requirements. You can possibly receive a waiver if there was exterior work that was recently updated and or there's no exterior work that needs it. If the building looks to be in good condition, it doesn't require any work. And if there is substantial interior renovations, including building systems, concrete and structural work, there is a possibility that you can receive a waiver so that you can proceed without having to put in any additional funding into the exterior. Going green with SBIF. There's ways to save money with energy efficiency. Insulation and high efficiency furnaces and water heaters dramatically cut down on energy costs. It's always best to look for ENERGY STAR ratings on your appliances, all of your equipment. This is a requirement for industrial businesses. High efficiency lighting cut down drastically on electrical bills, and also People's Gas and ComEd have rebate programs available. So you can use the SBIF program as well as the other programs that they have available to you. Compliance. We have a copy of the facade design guidelines that will be provided to you. We do ask that every business is licensed by the City of Chicago. If it's a startup, it's okay. Eventually, we will ask for the City of Chicago business license, but you can move forward with the process. Before the funding is fully dispersed, we ask that you have a current and valid City of Chicago business license. And also, you cannot have any debt to the City of Chicago. Parking tickets, administrative hearing fees, water bills, things of that sort. We do scofflaw investigations to make sure that there is no debt. If something happens to pop up, we'll provide the details and give you instructions on how to address it. We also have to complete an economic disclosure statement as part of the application. This form will be provided to you. And since the funding from this program is provided through the real estate taxes, the property taxes must be current. A grant recipient affidavit will be provided to you once the project is complete and the check is available to you. So this form basically states that you will not relocate, or if it's applicable, you will not sell the property for at least 3 years going forward from the day that you receive your check. So you do have to have a proof of land ownership or a minimum of a 3-year term lease in order to move forward with the application. Other direct city financial assistance will be deducted from the grant amounts, excluding TIF works. So for example, if you received city assistance from another grant program, you have $20,000 that you previously received, and you qualify for $100,000 in the SBIF grants. So we will then deduct that $20,000 that you received from the other city program, and that would leave you with $80,000 available to use for the SBIF program. So again, if you are a startup, you must follow through on your requirements. So if you come to us with the business plan stating that this is a restaurant, we want you to follow through with your restaurant plan. And we don't want you to turn it into a bar or a nightclub, something that would not be applicable. Other SBIF criteria: the contractors must be licensed and insured. The license must be by the City of Chicago. They do not have to be located within the city, but they do have to have a City of Chicago business license to do business within the city. A minority and women-owned contractor list will be provided, and also Summer Corps is available for technical assistance. The payment process. Project completion requirements. So once the project is complete, we will ask you for proof of payments, and this will include invoices, canceled checks, final waivers of lien. We do site visits before the work has started and after to verify completion. And we also request copies of your building permits. So once we have everything in order, we make sure that there's no debt to the City of Chicago. We then submit that information to the city for processing, which usually takes anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks before you can receive your grant. So if you have a bank assignment for the grant to be paid directly to your lender, we will then mail that check over directly to the lender to pay off a portion of that loan that you receive from them, and you would be responsible for paying out the remainder. SBIF timeline. We have 3 stages as we refer to it as. So right now we are currently accepting the applications through December 1st at 5 p.m. That is a strict deadline, so please make sure that you meet that deadline. So there is a possibility that we can go and have to conduct a lottery. If we have to do a lottery, that lottery will be conducted only if there's more funding requested than what we have available. If that happens to be the case, we'll notify you. The lottery will be available to the public. So right now, with everything that's going on, we've been doing the lotteries via Zoom. So we basically assign every applicant a number, and we throw the numbers in a fishbowl. As we're pulling them out, that is the order that we will start processing the applications. So there's a chance that either your project will be fully funded, it will be partially funded, or it will be placed on the wait list. If you happen to be placed on the wait list, don't lose hope. You know, we usually always go through every applicant, regardless of whether we do a lottery or not. But you know, the wait list will be good for 2 years. So if within those 2 years, if someone doesn't use the funding that's reserved for them, if they don't qualify, or if the city happens to replenish this area, the people who are on the wait list will receive funding before we open it up to new applicants. So if we do not have to do a lottery, or if you are one of the ones that's elected, one of the first ones that's elected to obtain funding, the first stage would be to furnish additional documents to complete the initial application. So we'll give you 20 days to submit that documentation. So once everything is deemed acceptable and eligible, we'll move forward into the second stage. You'll have 120 days for the construction planning phase, where you would submit architectural drawings, if applicable, along with your contractor's estimates, their license, and their insurance. So please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before the approval of the grant funds can be fully considered. There's an application review process. Once the City of Chicago, the Department of Planning and Development reviews this and approves it, a conditional commitment letter will be issued. So with that letter, it will have a full scope of work, the maximum grant amount that you can receive, as well as 2 deadlines. So within 120 days, you do have to submit the proof of financing. It can be in the form of a bank statement or a commitment letter from the bank stating that you are receiving loan proceeds. So that would be sufficient enough to meet the proof of financing requirements. So we ask that you show that you have at least 50% of the total project cost in order to move forward with the project. So that second deadline will be 300 days out, and that deadline would be for project completion. So the project must be fully completed within 300 days, which also equals 10 months. So again, the application deadline, we are currently accepting applications for 47th and State, 119th and Halsted, Brownsville, and Toohey Western. Applications will be accepted until December 1st at 5 p.m. So applications received after this time will not be accepted. They will not be taken into consideration. The applications can be submitted via email. They can also be submitted via fax or through Postal Service, UPS, FedEx. As long as it gets in before the deadline, we can accept that application and consider it for funding. So here is the contact information. We have, again, myself, Silvia Orozco. I speak Spanish, so if you or anyone you know is a Spanish speaker, feels more comfortable, please feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to assist them in their native language. We have Savannah Allen, Anastasia Williams, Nora Curry, and Kim Brisky. So again, a copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees.
Great. Thanks so much, Sylvia. And this is just a reminder that now is the time that if you have any questions, to please put them in the Q&A box and we can answer them live. If we don't get to them now, we'll make sure you get a follow-up answer. So Sylvia, the first question that I received is whether or not SBIF funds could be used to purchase a building that they eventually want to renovate.
They cannot be used to purchase the building that they want to renovate. Summer Corps offers the 504 loan program, so they can possibly use that program to start with. And they can use that in conjunction with the SBIF program. So the only way that we would be able to allocate funding for the purchase of a property or land would be if you currently own a building, operate your business out of it, and you're looking to purchase the land or property directly adjacent to you for either expansion or for parking use.
Great. And then sort of just to clarify, I think sometimes there's confusion because there's so many programs out there from the City of Chicago. Is this a grant or a loan, and what does it mean to be reimbursable?
It is a grant. It is in the form of a rebate. So you have to get approved for the work first. Once you get approved, you pay your contractor upfront 100%, and we reimburse you based off of what you qualify for and based on your eligible cost.
Great. The next question is, we have a potential client who they're getting ready to sign a lease for a property for a January 1st move-in date. Can they still apply now for SBIF funding?
Yes, they can still apply now.
Awesome. The next question is just what kind of information should potential SBIF clients have prepared when they're getting ready to apply?
So I would say to make sure that the location works for you. If they don't currently own the property or if they don't have a lease, that has to be already in the works, basically, negotiating all of that. So if you are a startup, we ask that you have a business plan, projections of income and expenses. We can also provide a template for you for the projections also. But basically, if you are an existing business, we would ask for a copy of either your lease, the proof of ownership, copy of your City of Chicago business license, tax returns, and a few other forms that will be provided to you as part of the application. But, those are some of the items that you want to make sure that you have readily available, as well as knowing exactly what it is that you're looking to do and what you can afford.
Great. And just to go back just a little bit in terms of the reimbursable grant, can you talk a little bit more in depth about how the financing works? Do you need to have that money up front, and what sort of resources are available for that?
So you do have to keep in mind that it is in the form of rebate. So you can submit an application right now, even if you don't have the funding available, but it's always best to, start looking for resources that are available to you. You can start up with your own lender. You can take a look at our website. We have a list of lenders that are familiar with the SBIF program that are more inclined to, provide loans for you. So keep in mind, it is a rebate. So you do have to have the funding available to you. Even if we can break it out in various phases, you do have to have, at least some funding available to you to get started with at least the first phase. And we'll work with you on moving forward with that.
That's great. We spoke a little bit about how there are so many support programs out there for businesses right now. Can you still apply for and use SBIF funds if you've already applied or received EIDL loans or PPP, the big grant, together now, all the other resources available?
Yes, you can still apply.
And specifically also for NOF, is that something that you can still apply for SBIF as well?
Well, with the SBIF program, we do take into account how much other city funding you will be receiving. So the amount that you would qualify for the NOF would be deducted from what you would qualify for SBIF. And we cannot cover the same scope of work.
Great. So a next question is, what if a project is already underway or was completed? Could somebody still apply for SBIF funding?
If it's completed, they cannot apply. If it's underway, depending on how far along they are in the process, they may or may not be able to, depending on what their time frame is, what exactly has been done, what has not been done. So, if it's a full gut rehab and you're looking to finish construction within the next 8 months, you still have your electrical service, HVAC service to complete. If there's sufficient enough timing in order for us to get everything approved for you before you get started with that, then there is a chance that we can move forward with that. But if it's already been completed, if it's in the works, then we wouldn't be able to accept an application for a project that's already in the works.
Great. So the next question was, how can I find out if my district is open and accepting applications?
You can visit our website. Our website has a link to the City of Chicago's Department of Zoning's website. It will tell you whether or not your property falls within a TIF district. Our website also gives you a list of districts that are currently available to accept applications, as well as advance notifications for the following month. You can always send us an email or give us a call, and we'd be happy to search that information for you and provide a little bit further details depending on exactly what TIF district you qualify for, if the property is within a TIF district, and we'll provide more details as to whether or not we have funding available and if it will be open in the near future.
Great. Would you mind just one more time restating the rules, sort of, if you want to apply for SBIF and NOF, just to regarding what you can apply for, the limits in terms of the funding, and the services that you can use the funding for?
Okay, so with the SBIF and NOF, the programs are very similar. With the SBIF program, every dollar that you receive from any other City of Chicago program would be deducted from what you'd be eligible for with SBIF. So let's say you qualify for $100,000 in a SBIF program, but you apply for NOF for $50,000. So that means you would only be eligible for $50,000 for the NOF program. And you would not be able to apply for the same scope of work. So you'd have to have a different scope of work, and SBIF funds is reduced dollar for dollar for any other City of Chicago program.
Great, I appreciate that clarification. And for, again, the Summer Corps website, that's SummerCorps, SOMERCOR.com/SBIF is the homepage for all things regarding the SBIF fund. That's where you'll be able to find the application, how to confirm you are in a SBIF district, how to see what districts are open and what are coming open, as well as resources for all these program rules that we learned about today. Additionally, you can sign up for our SBIFgram newsletter that comes out monthly and gives you a preview of projects that have already been completed. So you can get some ideas for your project, as well as provides the upcoming list of opening districts. I'm going to say, just this is the last chance. If anybody has a question, they would like to put it in the Q&A box. Otherwise, Sylvia, Fareed, I turn it back to you for any closing comments. I did get one last question here. Sorry about that. So we have somebody who wants to know if they have a building in a TIF district, but it's not currently open, can we apply off schedule for it? Can you submit the application even though it's not open right now?
Unfortunately not. We will not be able to accept it if it's not authorized to accept applications, but we will take your contact information and place you on an interested party list. So as a courtesy, we will you be able to let you know when that district will open. That will give you an opportunity to submit your application within the open acceptance period.
I appreciate that. And actually, Sylvia, would you mind moving the screen back to our contact information page? I had a few people just wanting to get contact information. Awesome.
There we go.
So again, the Summer Corps website is SummerCorps, SOMERCOR.com/SBIF, which is the starting point for all of your SBIFgram needs. And here is the contact information. At this point, I don't have any questions. So unless you have any finished comments, I think we can wrap this up.
All right. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you so much.